Alright, this is a game on Winter Himmelsdorf in the WZ-111, the Tier 9 Chinese Heavy. And so we've talked about Himmelsdorf before. I wanted to point out a couple of things that occur in this particular map in terms of creating holes, creating gaps, and exploiting gaps in your enemy's defenses. And so normally on Himmelsdorf, I like playing, particularly in well-armored heavy tanks like the WZ-111. I like playing down through the 2 line. But given my particular spawn, and I was a lot of times in streams, or in random matches, what I try to do is practice in different areas. And so what I'm going to do over here is play over in this 7-8 line area here. And so they have a lot of big tank destroyers, and so what I'm looking to see is how many of those tank destroyers do they commit to over here, or what forces do they commit to over here, and how can I push through this side smartly. So all you have to do is just set up over here with a little corner of your tank. So I see that they have a JT, and then I just give them a sharp angle to shoot at. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, so when he has a flat surface like that to me, I can shoot it, but I'm not going to get much of a chance to pen there, because the base pen of the AP is 244, but the base pen of the heat is 340, so I load heat, and when I load heat, I can shoot through that upper superstructure over there. There's a 215B back there someplace that I know he's back there because he hit my track. And then I can shoot right through the flat face of the JT there. So if he doesn't angle it, it's really easy for me to pen. If I try to do that same shot with AP, it's like maybe a 1 in 3 chance of that going through. I try to shoot the cheek of the 215B there just because it's the only really shot that I had, but it bounced from that angle. So we have a T30 and a T34 behind us, and so this JT got hit by the T30 as well. So he's backed off a little. So what I want to do is I want to put some pressure up this line. I'm watching our 3 line right now, and we have an IS-8 STI moving down the 3 line. So the only danger of pushing down here like this is, one, if the 215B and the JT are still in front of me, right? Because they can see me on the way in and they can slow me down. But I can push down here because they're being really passive, and I know that I'm not in threat of being shot from this side. And so what I want to do here is really simple. So basically what I've done is I've shot this gap right here. So I'm over by this 215B. The 215B is proxy lighting me, so he's going to know where I'm at. So I'm going to actually cut through the middle here. I could sit on this corner and just wait for our guys to catch up. But generally what I find is that if you push a defensive weakness like this in a pub match, these guys behind me will eventually push this lane. So what I want to do is get out here to put some flanking pressure on. And one of the things that allows me to do that is the fact that we have so much map control, right? So we've got our guy, we've got an IS-8 up here. We know that they have a 704 over here, but we have an STI over here. So I'm not in danger of them pushing up through this 1, 2, 3 line and getting shots on me. And given the proximity to the hill, even though we currently have the hill, we didn't send a whole lot up there, even though we have a proximity to the hill, they're not going to be able to get good shots at me until I move pretty much past this halfway point here, which we're not going to do. So what I want to be able to do is put some flanking pressure on this G line, and I'm going to watch and make sure that our guys, this T30, T34, push up to actually give some support.
It's a trap!
And so here's Mr. JT again. What a coincidence scene here. So we know that they have a Roomba over here, and then apparently the 215B moved over, and they have a 50-100 here as well. And I kind of forget that I had heat loaded for the JT, so I only have a heat shell loaded right now, but I'm about to swap back over to AP. And our waffle over in this corner got a good shot on their JT, which took him out. And so their 5120s fired like about 3 shots now. And my heat round hit his mantlet, which is what ate it. So there, the 5100 is backing off. Presumably he's reloading right there. So these guys are pushing into the Roomba, which is fantastic. He's going to clean that up. But these guys push down the 8 line, right? So they've got to the backside of there. So basically we've got this guy in a pincer, so he's boned, right? And so the idea is, and this is something that we talk about in the stream a lot on Himmelsdorf, so the idea is that you don't really need to commit a lot of forces to the hill. If you're willing to be aggressive, you're willing to push down here, the more that their team sends to the hill, the better, because you're going to be able to roll these guys so fast that you make everything on the hill irrelevant. Right, and so the fact that we were able to get that JT down a little bit, you know, that T30 hitting that JT for 700 damage was pretty key, because that got the JT to back off. The 215B did not keep us honest, right? The 215B let us drive all the way down there, and he didn't detect us until we got, you know, right up into the courtyard area. All right, so there's nobody keeping us honest, which allowed us to push up, and the fact that our west side is playing aggressively allows us to be more and more aggressive through this middle area and get onto the flank here, which allows us to basically completely blow through this G line. Okay, and so they have an E75 which they sent back, and so their hill guys are at some point are going to need to come back. Our 140 came off the hill. He recognized that he was outgunned.
It's a trap!
And so we're going to clean up this west side eventually. It looks like this 5100 is trying to switch over. There's also a tier 9 waffle on the way down there.
It's a trap!
And so there's an E75 behind me. And so I need to be careful here because I can't push into here because otherwise I'm going to push myself into a pincer. So this E75 backed off a little bit. We've got some guys coming down this 8 line, so I'm actually going to just re-divert. I don't need to push the E75 because if I push the E75, it's the same thing. These guys can get shots into my rear. So what I want to be able to do is prevent these guys from reinforcing this west side easily. So basically what I'm doing is I'm screening for this west side.
It's a trap!
So their Patton is backing off now. Right, and so they've got some guys here, but they're basically pinned out. These guys are going to start pressuring where this Waffle 4 is.
It's a trap!
And so the Waffle 4 moves up to this G line. And so basically the Waffle 4 overextended now. So what I can do is I can get up behind him, right? These guys have all backed off, which makes it easier for us. These guys were able to take out the E75 was there. The hill guys still really haven't had much to do yet.
It's a trap!
And we load HE for the Waffle. And then again, just giving him a sharp angle on my side. He's going to back up because he doesn't really have much of an option. And we get a nice 743 roll there. And so we can now just basically mop up, right? They've got the T30 on the hill someplace, you know, their artillery is over there someplace, and their 46 Patton is trying to get away, but he probably won't at the pace that he's going to go. No, I guess he gets hit by artillery, even better. And then we can just put cap pressure on and wait for them to come back at this point. Apparently either the T30 or the M5355 went through. But at this point it's kind of a moot point. It's too late in the game for that. And so one of the things that, well, hang on, we'll wait until this is over because I don't remember if anyone else dies. I guess not. So anyways, we're able to cap through the base. So what I want to point out here is, so I can play this 8 line over here, right, where we spotted the JT and ultimately the 215B. And if I spot a lot of resistance there, I can always just leave, right? What you don't really want to do is camp there. And then so given the turn of events of what happened, right, so we were able to get a shot of damage on the JT and the T30 was able to get a shot of the damage on the JT. Now that's important because if we weren't, right, and if we were struggling, like let's say it wasn't a JT, let's say it was you know, something more armor, like a hull down E3 or something, you know, something difficult like that, and where they were constantly watching this lane, then we wouldn't necessarily want to just sit here and just trade. We don't necessarily want to be static, especially when we see that our guys are being aggressive on this west side. What I would have done is I would have just turned around and driven out through this 5 line over here and then come down here, depending on what we saw through the middle there, because you want to be able to get to the flank sides of these guys, no matter what. But as it turns out, right, they backed off, which has allowed us to drive down here and then come in through the courtyard. Our guys, the T-30, T-34, filled in through the backside of that 8 line, and then we just basically acted as a flank the whole time. And then again, so they pushed a lot to the hill. We put a decent amount on the hill. Eventually our 140 came back, but we put a decent amount on the hill. But you know, what I really want to point out is that whatever happened on the hill, to some extent, doesn't matter, because we didn't trade super efficiently out here on the west, but we had so many tanks out here, and so many of those tanks, you'll notice that they all drove forward. We didn't have too many guys sitting in the A1, A2, A3 line, right? These guys, that IS-8, the STI, those guys, they drove forward, and that's really, really important for winning this side, especially when you identify that they don't have a whole lot of tanks there. And that allowed us to sort of push through the middle and get a good solid flank on that 215B, the JT, the 5100, which eventually ran away. And after that, it was pretty much just mop up and look for areas where you can get guys that are ISO'd and take out the guns. So if we look at the stats for this, a few things. Our T-30 died, which is very sad, but he did an excellent job. Again, you know, getting that shot of damage on the JT doesn't seem like much, but it was key to getting that JT to back off. And the fact that the 215B did not continue to spot down that lane allowed us to get through there for free. Our STI kept moving forward, which is fantastic. IS-8 kept moving forward, which is fantastic. So even though they didn't do a lot of damage, they actually played a key role on that west side, and so that's something to keep in mind there. So we were able to do a lot of damage, mostly because we were on the flanks of people a lot, right? And we switched to HE for the Waffle 4, got a couple good rolls on him, which is certainly nice to see. You have to be a little bit more careful when you shoot HE. You want to make sure that you don't hit them in the spaced armor. But otherwise, it was a pretty straightforward game. Just essentially drive down the middle and get to the flanks and put your opponent in a bad situation to try to defend you. Anyhow, so I hope that was helpful for the Tier 9 WZ-111 and playing Himmelsdorf. So thanks for watching.